Hello and welcome to episode 18 of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty. I'm your host, Rick Doherty. As some of our regular guests get more and more comfortable, I'm noticing our conversations are going longer. Episodes 16 and 17 were a two-parter with our good friend Marissa from Chicago, and today we're going to start another two-parter. Recently, I sat down to talk with show regular Sarah from Seattle, known on Twitter as @SarahSays84. We discussed Disneyland and what rides at Walt's original park would be advisable to skip if you are a Walt Disney World regular who's visiting Disneyland for the first time and you only have a day. This was a fun conversation and it lasted so long I'm splitting it up into two episodes. Hear about Main Street USA, Adventureland, New Orleans Square, Critter Country, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and Frontierland this week. Next week we'll go through Fantasyland, Mickey's Toontown, and Tomorrowland. Later in the episode, I will also give my review of a recent visit to Oga's Cantina in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge in Disney's Hollywood Studios at Walt Disney World. As someone who doesn't drink alcohol, I definitely bring a unique perspective. Before we get started, please like, comment, and subscribe to help the show. As most of you know, I'm an authorized Disney travel planner with Ear to There Travel. My services are always 100% free to you. And just a $200 deposit can lock you in on your next Disney vacation. I can also help you with Universal Orlando Resort, Universal Hollywood, Las Vegas, New York City, or just about any other vacation destination in the world. Email me at rick@eartotheretravel.com, rick@eartotheretravel.com, or call me at 727-507-3123, 727-507-3123. Let's work together to plan your next vacation. Now we're going to welcome my good friend Sarah from Seattle. She's a Disneyland and Walt Disney World regular. This makes her the perfect person to discuss what Disneyland attractions are must-dos and what ones can be skipped if you're a regular at Disney's Florida parks but only have a limited time for your first Disneyland trip. Sarah, thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great today. How are you doing?
I am doing excellent. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to walk into Disneyland Park, head right onto Main Street USA, and this is where we're going to have to start. If somebody has been to Walt Disney World a number of times and they are going to Disneyland for the first time, I think I know what your answer is going to be here, but do they have to make sure to experience Main Street USA when they're at Disneyland?
Absolutely. It is. It's not super different, I don't feel like. I mean, there's different shops, different food, things like that than Walt Disney World, but there's a lot of really cool little things you need to look at as you go down Main Street.
I am going to say this in a way that is not putting down Magic Kingdom or Walt Disney World at all. Nothing is putting down Walt Disney World. If anybody knows me, they know how much I love it. So don't misconstrue this. But compared to Disneyland, Magic Kingdom's Main Street USA is almost sterile. The entire one side of Main Street USA in Magic Kingdom is the Emporium. The other side is the confectionery, a couple little shops that have a little bit of personality, but it's different shops in Disneyland. The whole way up both sides. Different shops, different food stands. You can get some ice cream. You can go to the Magic Shop where Steve Martin was a cast member.
Yes.
On Main Street USA in Disneyland. It is such a completely different experience at Disneyland, Main Street USA. And I love Main Street USA at Magic Kingdom. Don't get me wrong, I'm not putting it down. But it's the original one. When you're leaving, you see the light in Walt's office.
Mm-hmm.
Take your time. Do Main Street USA in Disneyland. And while you're on Main Street USA, there's also great moments with Mr. Lincoln. So I think the most comparable attraction at Magic Kingdom or at Walt Disney World, of course, would be Hall of Presidents. Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln was what Walt Disney could have done for the World's Fair when he more wanted something that resembled Hall of Presidents. Even if you've done Hall of Presidents, do you think Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln is a must?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, not only is it number one a great place to get out of the heat, but it's not just sitting there watching Abe Lincoln talk. There's a whole story and show and everything that has all other kinds of media and multimedia in it as well. It's very entertaining and it's great.
And if you're one of the people like Sarah, like myself, who's really into the history of all of this stuff, who really loves all the Disney lore, this is so important in the evolution of animatronics. I believe there were stories about people who saw the Abraham Lincoln animatronic the first time were like throwing money at it to see if it was actually a person pretending to be an animatronic. I don't know if that story's true. I have just heard that story. And it is an important process, an important step in getting the theme parks the way that they are now. And one of the reasons that Disneyland is such an historic park.
No, I completely agree.
And then, as all good people do when they are at Disneyland or Walt Disney World, if you're trying to beat the crowds, we're going to go left and head into Adventureland. And we're going to start with, this might be one that, and keep in mind, if we do say you can skip it, that doesn't mean we don't like it. That just means that if you've experienced it at Walt Disney World, you might not need to experience it if you're rushing through a day at Disneyland. Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room. If you have done it at Walt Disney World, do you think you need to do it in Disneyland?
I thought a lot about this one, and you know what? I think you do. I think the experience is different, but I also like the fact that the Dole Whip counter opens on the opposite side so you don't have to stand in line. So you can go in, sit and watch the pre-show and see all the cool stuff and get a Dole Whip without having to wait for like a half hour.
Sarah always has her priorities straight, and that is one of my favorite things about her. I am going to say, and this is coming from somebody who has definitely not spent nearly as much time in Disneyland as Walt Disney World. If I'm really in a crunch, this might be one of them that I would skip at Disneyland. I don't think that's necessarily means that you should. It is very historic, especially the Disneyland version. I just think that it's similar enough that if you're rushing, I don't want you to skip other things to try to experience the Enchanted Tiki Room.
That is fair.
And now let's move to something that is not open right now at Disneyland, but that is the Jungle Cruise. If it is open at Disneyland, what do you think? Do you think this is when you have to do the Disneyland version?
No, I say skip it. Yeah, I just think it's not that big of a difference between the two, in my opinion. And if I'm in, like you said, a time crunch and there's other rides I want to ride, that is not one that I would take the time to wait in the line.
So I'm going to say this is one I wouldn't skip, but with a caveat, because I probably would skip it in all actuality if this were my day, because I don't even do it a lot at Walt Disney World. However, where I will say that I think the version at Disneyland is a little better is because, let's just be honest, Anaheim is closer to Hollywood. So you're going to end up getting a skipper that might be a little bit of a higher quality because it's somebody who probably moved to California with a certain set of skills. So I probably still would skip it. But I'm going to say that the experience might be a touch better sometimes at Disneyland than it is at Walt Disney World. And if you haven't heard the Weird Al song Skipper Dan, you're going to have to go after you listen to this entire podcast and like it and subscribe and do all that stuff. Then on YouTube, go look up Skipper Dan from Weird Al Yankovic because it is hilarious, and I think about it every time I think about the Jungle Cruise at Disneyland. All right, we are moving on to one that is probably the most obvious answer in the entire park, and that is Indiana Jones Adventure. It is most closely comparable to Dinosaur at Disney's Animal Kingdom. Sarah, should they skip this?
Oh, absolutely not. This is no. Oh, from the queue, from the minute you step through that little gate thing up to go into the temple. Oh no, you have to do it and you have to make sure you experience all of it.
Obviously, I agree with Sarah on this. This is definitely a must-do at Disneyland. It is one of the best attractions in all of Disneyland. It's one of the best attractions at any Disney park throughout the world. Just a quick side note. What do you think about some of the rumors that this might replace Dinosaur at Disney's Animal Kingdom?
Oh, I actually haven't heard that. That's a new thing to me, and I think that would be really exciting knowing how some of you know how I feel about Dinosaur but oh, I don't know.
Well, I'm glad to have stumped you today. I think the only thing about it that bothers me a little bit is the thought that, it's Animal Kingdom and I don't know how much it fits
Yeah.
into the theme, but I know that it almost seems like these rumors are picking up steam in ways that other rumors that ended up being true picked up steam. Like, for
Gotcha.
example, the retheme of Splash Mountain that started as a little small snowball and then rolled down that mountain till it became, no pun intended, rolled down the mountain until it became a reality. This Indiana Jones rumor just doesn't seem to go away. Tarzan's treehouse compared to the Swiss Family treehouse at Magic Kingdom.
The only reason I would say I wouldn't skip it is because there is one spot in that treehouse you can get an amazing photo with Big Thunder Mountain behind you. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. It's you get up there and I mean you could not run, but you could power walk your way up there, get your picture and go. But otherwise, if you're not wanting to do that, then I would say skip it.
This is one that I'm going to say you probably want to skip it. However, I do think Tarzan's treehouse might be a step above Swiss Family Robinson treehouse at Magic Kingdom.
I agree.
And right when you're around Tarzan's treehouse, I believe this is the spot where you can see a little special little trinket.
Yes, it's actually outside Indiana Jones. If we're thinking of the same one. Yeah, the little man of Disneyland, is that who you're thinking of? The little hidden, yes. So at the bottom of a tree, there's usually people sitting by that tree, so you need to like weave your way in. But there is a golden book that is the story of the little man of Disneyland, and he is a little like gnome guy who lives under this tree, and there is his home that you can find right in that spot.
So that is something you definitely don't want to skip. It'll take you 30, 40 seconds to do this.
Oh,
You might have to ask a cast member, but make sure you do it. Make sure you see the house of the little man of Disneyland.
yes.
And then move on to New Orleans Square. We have some good ones here. Pirates of the Caribbean. If you have experienced it every time you've gone to Walt Disney World and you've gone 10, 15, 20 times and you think, there's no way I need to do the Disneyland version, tell them how wrong they are, Sarah.
No, you are so wrong. In my opinion, it is so much better. It's so much better. I don't mind pirates at Disney World, don't get me wrong, at Magic Kingdom, but the one in New Orleans Square is amazing. It's amazing.
In my opinion, it would be like somebody saying, do I really need to see Back to the Future? I've already seen Back to the Future 3. Yes, Back to the Future 3 is fine, and I like it, and I enjoy it, and if it's on television on a Sunday afternoon, I'll watch it. However, you gotta see the original. You gotta do Pirates of the Caribbean at Disneyland. It is a huge difference in quality, in length, in thrills, just a completely different experience the whole way through.
I will give Magic Kingdom the queue for that one is really cool compared to Disneyland, but the whole rest of the ride is just totally different.
No, you're 100% right. And I do agree with you on the queue. The Walt Disney World queue has more air conditioning. You're inside a lot longer. It is more detailed. I agree with you there. However, once you're on the ride, there's just no comparison.
Yeah, exactly.
How about the Haunted Mansion? Because this is a very similar experience to the one at Walt Disney World, and also a very different experience.
Yeah, I say definitely do not skip it. I not only because I'm a huge fan of the Haunted Mansion, I will ride it in any park, but it also has some scenes that you don't get in Walt Disney World. Like I know we talked about on a previous show, the Hatbox Ghost at Disneyland. So if you haven't experienced that, definitely ride it.
This is something that even if they were the exact same, even if Disneyland didn't have Hatbox Ghost, even if the outside wasn't different, I just don't think you can skip Haunted Mansion at Disneyland. If you're going to Disneyland and you want to have the Disneyland experience, you just can't skip this attraction. It's so iconic. It's one of the most important attractions in all of Disney Parks history, if not the most important attraction in Disney Parks history. You just can't skip it. Even if it were a carbon copy of the one at Walt Disney World, or I guess it would be more accurate to say the one in Walt Disney World was a carbon copy of the one at Disneyland, it wouldn't matter. You have to do it. Let's move on to Critter Country. I know we might have a couple now that I'm actually going to say, in my personal opinion, might be skippable. We're going to go to Critter Country and start with Splash Mountain. What do you think, Sarah?
It is skippable. I think it's similar enough to Magic Kingdom that, yeah, I would ride something else.
This is one of the rare rides that I actually think is better at Magic Kingdom. You sit side by side at Magic Kingdom.
Yep.
With whoever's in your party, and you sit behind people on the version at Disneyland. It just doesn't seem worth it to me. It's just a better experience at Walt Disney World, and you have already, we've told you all these things you can't skip. So if you can't skip so much stuff, there has to be something that you can. And Splash Mountain is one of those for me. I'm also going to say, and I'll move on to your opinion after this, that the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh is probably also one that you can skip if you've done it a lot at Walt Disney World, because this is basically a carbon copy.
Yeah, I completely agree. Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. I think that I usually only ride that one when there's really long lines for everything else and we're just tired. Because it's so much like Walt Disney World and it's cute, but if there's other ones you can smush into your day.
Now, this is going to be an area where Sarah is not going to be very knowledgeable, just because she has not been to any of the theme parks since the opening of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, either at Disneyland or at Walt Disney World. And this is very, very interesting as well, because both of these rides are complete carbon copies of their counterparts at Walt Disney World. So I'm probably going to end up talking about these a little more than Sarah's going to talk about them, but I do have very strong opinions, and I'd like to hear Sarah's feedback. As always, we're going to start with Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. This is a virtual ride. You get to ride the Millennium Falcon. Every ride is a little bit different depending on the skill of the people involved. I'm going to say, if you have done this enough times at Walt Disney World, you don't have to do it at Disneyland. It's the exact same thing. You've had that experience, and there are so many things at Disneyland that you have to experience if this is your first time there, that waiting an hour in line for Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run just doesn't make sense to me. Now, as confident as I am in that answer, I am not as confident talking about the next attraction, and that is Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, which I do believe is the best theme park ride in the United States of America. I am a firm believer that if you have the opportunity to experience this attraction, never skip it. So it is right now also a virtual queue. You get boarding groups at Disneyland, you get boarding groups at Walt Disney World. If you can get a boarding group for Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, do it. Never skip it. You will never regret doing this ride. Even though, yes, you may be like me and are already in double digits in your Rise of the Resistance tally, The only reason I have that many rides is because I never miss the opportunity. If I have the opportunity, I take it, and I definitely think you can't skip this. I also want to say that just because you have walked through the version of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Walt Disney World, take 30, 40 minutes and walk around Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland. There are some subtle differences, and the theming in this land is just so good. I just could not suggest skipping it and not seeing anything. Now, as somebody who has never experienced either version of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, this might be a little off topic, but what are your thoughts on when you think you'll get to experience this? Are you going to want to take the time to do it when you're in Disneyland, or are you going to wait till you go to Walt Disney World to really enjoy it?
I'm not gonna lie, I'll probably do both because I do want to see the differences. Um, from everything that I've heard, it sounds like you're just like spot on with the what you should skip and what you shouldn't from everybody that I've talked to on Twitter and their experiences with Smuggler's Run. I've been told if you have less than like 3 people, just don't even bother because the ride experience isn't the same. But yeah, so my plan is to definitely try or see Galaxy's Edge in both Hollywood Studios and in Disneyland. And then depending on where I go first, I'll decide, am I going to skip it or am I going to ride it in both places? But with Rise of the Resistance, it's one of those ones that's like probably never ever going to skip that ride.
Absolutely. It is just completely next level. Now we're going to move on to Frontierland and Tom Sawyer Island. So if you have gone to Tom Sawyer Island at Walt Disney World, do you need to go to Tom Sawyer Island at Disneyland?
I don't feel you do. I feel like it is a huge time suck out of your day. It's fun, but if you have like a day of very limited things you can do, if you've been to Tom Sawyer Island before, you definitely do not need to do it again.
And I feel that even goes for if you're at Walt Disney World and you've done it before. Or maybe if you have a short Walt Disney World trip and you've never done it before, I still think you might be able to skip it. It's fun. I love that it's there, but it is not going to make or break your Disneyland vacation. When you're thinking about your memories of your Disneyland vacation, or to be honest, your Walt Disney World vacation, you're not going to think about the time you spent getting over to Tom Sawyer Island and getting back.
No, absolutely not.
And now we're going to hit our first real show. Now we're not talking about even the Tiki Room, but we're going to talk about an actual show, a nighttime spectacular. If you have seen Fantasmic at Disney's Hollywood Studios, do you have to see it again at Disneyland?
Absolutely. Yes, you do. And I recommend if you have someone that will sit and wait to get you a spot on the Rivers of America, do so because it is a whole next level experience seeing it in Disneyland because it is done on Tom Sawyer Island and the Rivers of America. The amphitheater is great. I love that there are seats and it's like stadium seating in Walt Disney World, but seeing it in Disneyland it's like indescribable. It's amazing.
I'm going to come and break out my first controversial opinion of this podcast. And it is not going to be that you can skip Fantasmic at Disneyland. I am going to say if you've seen Fantasmic at Disneyland and you are at Hollywood Studios and your day is already busy, you can skip Fantasmic at Hollywood Studios because it is so much better at Disneyland. I love the version at Hollywood Studios, don't get me wrong, but the version at Disneyland is so much better. This is the definitive version.
I agree.
This is going to be a hard one, I think, and I've gone back and forth on it a few times. The Mark Twain Riverboat versus the Liberty Bell at Magic Kingdom. If you're at Disneyland, do you have to ride Mark Twain's Riverboat if you've done the Liberty Bell at Walt Disney World?
I don't think so. In my opinion, I mean there's like subtle differences and stuff and they talk about Mark Twain and they talk about all of that on the boat, but if you've been on it, I don't feel like you need to go on the Mark Twain.
I still don't know what my answer is here. Because I would feel so neglectful as a Disney history fan, as somebody who loves the nostalgia of these parks. Not as much as some people out there love the nostalgia of them, but it's attractions like the Mark Twain Riverboat that really just scream Disney theme park to me, make me feel like I'm in a Disney park. I think if I was really, really busy, I think I would skip it, but I hate saying that. If I was in Disneyland for one day and I was starting to get down to crunch time of getting everything in, I might have to skip it. If I was at Disneyland for 2 days, in Disneyland Park for 2 days, I would make sure I wrote it. But it's so hard to think about skipping it, but I agree with what you're saying. It's not short. It is a long experience. So I guess I'm going to have to go with that, but I went back and forth a number of times, and I guess I'm going to have to say that I have to skip it. So now anybody who's listened to any podcast for more than 15 or 20 seconds knows my answer to this next one, but I'm going to ask Sarah. Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, if you have experienced it at Walt Disney World, can you skip it at Disneyland?
No, you can't skip it at Disneyland. In my opinion, it's one of my favorite coasters. No, I mean, I feel like there's little subtleties. Like I don't remember the one in Disney World doesn't have the goat, does it? The same like little goat thing that the Disneyland people do.
The goat exists in both parks. What does exist at Disneyland that doesn't exist at Walt Disney World, at least right now, are the explosions.
Ah, okay.
Or not the explosions, but the light going to the blasting caps.
Yeah.
That is unique to Disneyland, and just that in and of itself makes it a must do. First of all, if you are on vacation, annual pass holders who get to go a lot like me, every once in a while you might go to Magic Kingdom and skip Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. But if you are on vacation, you have to do Big Thunder Mountain Railroad if Big Thunder Mountain Railroad exists in your park. It is such a good ride that you just have to do it whenever possible.
I agree. It's so fun.
And I think that the Disneyland version is better than the Walt Disney World version as well. So I think that that is an important thing to consider also.
Yeah, I completely agree.
All right, this is where we're going to take our break from this topic. Sarah from Seattle will be back on Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty next week, when we'll continue this conversation by moving on to Fantasyland, Mickey's Toontown, and Tomorrowland. Make sure to share your opinions in the comments. One thing I love to do on this show is to take you with me into the parks for dining reviews at Walt Disney World and Universal Orlando Resort, as well as other places, of course. Recently, my good buddy Ken gifted me his reservation at Oga's Cantina in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disney's Hollywood Studios in Walt Disney World. This can sometimes be a hard reservation to acquire, and I don't usually even try to make it because I don't drink alcohol, so I figured I would leave this to those who really, really like to drink. Since I had this opportunity that Ken had a reservation he wasn't going to be using, I decided I would take him up on it, and then I could give you a great review of my experience at Oga's Cantina. In the theming of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, this is not supposed to be the same cantina from Tatooine in A New Hope, but it does definitely have some similar vibes to that cantina. The first thing you will definitely notice is DJ Rex, who is voiced by Paul Reubens, also known as Pee Wee Herman. DJ Rex is a DJ droid who is playing music for you the entire time you are at Oga's. You will just sit there and watch DJ Rex. He's that entertaining. One of the reasons I even have this podcast now is because I've had a long career in broadcasting. Yes, I've even been a silly DJ doing weddings, playing music on the radio, so I can definitely relate to DJ Rex. He likes the sound of his own voice, telling cheesy jokes, and playing music. So that's basically me in a nutshell. So I love DJ Rex. Really, really is a special addition to this cantina. Once you are either seated or they lead you to your standing bar area, they definitely drill it into your head that you only have 45 minutes that you can be in Oga's. They want to make sure they can get as many people in to experience this as possible, and as somebody who was going by myself, it would have been really inconsiderate for me to stay more than 45 minutes. I didn't even do the entire 45 minutes, but I did stay a lot longer than I initially thought I would stay. I ordered 2 non-alcoholic drinks and one of the 2 food items that were available for lunch. The first drink was the Carbon Freeze. This is Powerade, lemon lime, wild strawberry, blueberry, and green apple popping pearls. It was $7.50. This was really cool because it has like a dry ice or something similar in it. It bubbles. It creates like a smoke or a steam on top. These concoctions without alcohol, as they call them, are all very fruity. They're really good for a hot day at Disney's Hollywood Studios because they're very, very refreshing. The Powerade inside definitely helps a lot. It was fun having this bubbling, picturesque beverage. This was the one that I got while I was waiting for my food to come. I figured it would be a little more interesting, a little more unique. This is one I would definitely suggest if you're bringing your kids. They'll have fun with it being so interactive. It's not just another boring drink for them. They'll really enjoy it. It will taste good to them. I recommend the Carbon Freeze in that situation. I also got the Hyperdrive Punch It. This was $6. Powerade, Mountain Berry Blast, white cranberry juice, black cherry puree, and Sprite. This was a good one to get with the food because it wasn't bubbling, it wasn't anything special. It was just a nice, cold, refreshing drink that I could drink while I was eating my food. Once again, being in the air conditioning at Oga's Cantina and then having some of these refreshing fruit-flavored drinks is a really good thing at Hollywood Studios. Maybe you spent some time earlier in the day at Toy Story Land, which is really, really hot. And of course, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge isn't the coolest, most shaded place in all of Walt Disney World, so it can tend to get hot as well. I definitely recommend these non-alcoholic drinks if you're just looking to cool off, refresh yourself, and get ready to finish the rest of your day at Disney's Hollywood Studios. And then for food, off of the snacks menu, I got the Batu Bits, $11. It was crispy Galaxy snack bits with spiced chermoula dip, if I said that correctly. This dip was outstanding, and the crispy Galaxy snack bits are actually vegetable chips. All of them were really, really good. They complemented the dip very well. They were also seasoned well, which is important, and this is a snack that is not too heavy. I can't stress enough how important it is when you are at Disney's Hollywood Studios to have meals that aren't too heavy because it can be hot. And this was in May when I went and had this reservation. It was quite the toasty day. We're getting into the summer now. You're going to have a lot of those really, really warm days. Oga's Cantina is a great way to get out of the sun, get out of the heat, really refresh yourself, get a tiny snack, and be ready for the rest of your day. I definitely recommend it. This has been episode 18 of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are enjoying this show on YouTube. That will help remind you of the second half of our conversation with Sarah when it airs next Thursday. Follow me on social media for blogs, videos, pictures, and live streams. Facebook.com/ear-to-there-rick, Twitter.com/Rick_ear, Instagram.com/RickEar2 and there, and Twitter.com/TGTT podcast. For a free, no obligation quote on your next vacation, call me at 727-507-3123, 727-507-3123, or shoot me an email at rick@eartotheretravel.com, rick@eartotheretravel.com. My services are always 100% free to you. Thanks for checking out Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty. Until next Thursday's episode, have a great week.